Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Breaking Free Show. My name is Marilyn Shannon, and I am so delighted to be here with you today, as always. It's always a pleasure, and I'm honored that you have chosen to spend this time with us. We are all over the place. As you may imagine, I'm still in Florida, still here with my mom, which has been an extraordinary experience. Would love to be home, but you know, this is where I am. So during this lockdown, I am locked down with my mother, which has been great. Anyway, I hope you're all doing well. And I look forward to being back in Raleigh real soon. But nonetheless, the show must go on, as they say. And today's show will be wonderful and in perfect timing for what we're all going through right now. But before we introduce the guests to you today, I want to say hi to Amnon. Amnon, you there?
Hello.
Hey, how you doing?
Doing fine. How are you doing? Hot
I'm
yet?
fine.
Is it hot down there?
Hot? Oh my God. It's like 90 some odd degrees here.
Wow.
Yeah, it's real hot.
Keep it.
It's
Keep it.
I you know what? I'd like to share a little of you, but
No. All right.
my it's been very warm, and then when I get out walking in the morning, I gotta get out, like, by 7 o'clock, or I'm gonna melt. So, anyway, yeah, it's been really warm. But anyway, it's good, and I'm glad to be here. So, I miss you, Amnon, but I'll see you soon. So, on with the show. So, let me just remind you all, anytime during the show, to please feel free to call in. You are more than welcome to do that. This is your show, and I will hope and pray that you have some questions, because for today you should. 919-518-9773, or you can join us on Skype voice. That is not a picture, that is just voice. So don't worry about how you look. Just call in. It's more important that you call in and check in with us than anything else. And that is computers, and that's plural, then the number 2K voice. And you can also join us in our chat. Just put your name, nickname, whatever you like under the video, and you can comment, ask questions, whatever you like there. So we hope you join us, and I will remind you of this throughout the show, because this is a really important show that you're going to want to call in, because I got lots of questions. So let me introduce to you my guests today. We have two, Howie Shareff and Flo Moses. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's a thrill
Thank
to
you.
be here.
Good. I'm glad you're here. So, Howie, why don't you start? Tell everybody, in a moment or two, who you are and what you do.
Ah, well, I'm a pretty outgoing fellow in North Raleigh who, for the past 12 years, have been trying to share the benefits of yoga. I had to retire from a dental practice then due to disability, arthritis in my neck, and from surgeries and rehabilitation, of which Flow has been part of. I've improved, but my underlying issues don't all go away. So I've been homebound mostly. I don't have an office anymore. And I get out in the public and try and build community and also fulfill some of my need to help heal others and myself.
Good. Perfect.
Founded You Call This Yoga 10 years ago this month.
Oh, happy birthday, anniversary, and congratulations. All the above, right? Okay, so hold on for a second. I just want to remind everyone, I know Howie said North Raleigh, that is North Raleigh, North Carolina. But the information that we're going to be sharing today, as always, fits for any place, anywhere, whoever you are, anywhere in the world. So because Howie and Flo are in Raleigh, North Carolina, the information is priceless. So just keep that in mind. Okay, Flo, tell everybody about you.
Well, my name is Flo Moses. I am a physical therapist and a retired athletic trainer. I am co-owner of Sports and More Physical Therapy, which we started 18 years ago. And a little bit about the name, some people think, oh, you do more than sports. Absolutely. We started our clinic all those years ago, my partner Jason Harloff and I, with the attitude that everyone should be able to get back to whatever they wanted to do with the same intensity and fervor that an athlete does. But that being our background, that's how we approach movement, and feel very strongly about keeping people moving because it is so important to every aspect of health. So, so excited to have people like Howie along the way to keep me inspired and motivated and feel good about what I can help people with getting them back to doing whatever is the new normal for them. So that's who we are, and very excited to be here. And we are in Raleigh and Cary, North Carolina.
Perfect. So it is all about hope, and there's anything that's possible, right?
Absolutely.
So, it's interesting. I was telling Hope and, Flo and Howie this morning that I I looked at my Twitter account, and there was the first thing I saw was about physical therapy and how important it is right now to keep moving because so many people are home. And lo and behold, that's exactly what we intended to talk about, or part of what we're going to talk about anyway. So let's begin with that. Let's talk about the fact that everybody's home. I know I'm sitting in my mother's beautiful chairs. They're all beautiful, but they hurt like heck. I am moving from one chair to another. I'm sitting on pillows. I lean on pillows. I mean, I am just constantly in pain because her chairs were not meant for somebody to work at a computer. But here I am. So talk to me and everybody else. So you want to start, Flo?
Yeah, I'm so glad that you said that. It is true. We learn new things about our chairs, don't we, when we have to sit in them longer than we usually do. And not only that, so many people are doing more of familiar movements, but they're doing it more often. So, for example, people are going crazy about doing yard work. Well, they usually do it on the weekend because they only have a certain amount of time to do it. But now they can do it all week if they want to. And so they wonder why they're hurting. They have the most beautiful yards, prettier than they ever have. Now they're hurting in ways that they haven't hurt before. Or they're doing new movements. For example, the health club next to us in our physical therapy clinic is shut down, like many of them are. Many people are familiar with doing certain things on machines there, but now they're out walking on trails, and maybe trails that they haven't been on before, or on roads that they haven't been on before, surfaces. They're doing different kinds of activities, so they have aches and pains from that. Then there's I think the biggest problem is no movement. People sitting and binge watching all kinds of series that they've been wanting to see all this time, and now they have time to do it, or they're playing video games even longer than they ever did before. So no movement is creating all kinds of problems, or they're having to work at home. And they aren't set up to do that. They might have an awesome ergonomic setup at their usual place of work, but they haven't taken the time to do it at home. And this has happened to me some, even though we're still open as essential healthcare providers, but I've done a lot more work at home at night. And I finally took my riser and my keyboard home to use with my laptop, which, no duh, of course I need to be doing that. I tell people that all the time, but I found myself doing even more at work and wondering why is my neck sore and my shoulders are sore, and oh my gosh. So just all kinds of things are popping up, which which brings to the forefront necessity is the mother of invention, for sure. And we're doing all kinds of new things, but along with that come new challenges.
I think I'm your perfect specimen because when I first came here, and I'm used to swimming, going to a health club, and doing all those things, right? But I don't have access to any of it. So what am I doing? So I decided I would walk, right? So I didn't have my sneakers here because I didn't bring any because I figured I'm not going to be here that long, but okay. So I'm going on my 7th week. So I went across the street to Walmart and I bought myself a pair of sneakers and I started walking. Well, that made my mother's beautiful chairs even worse because my back and lower back were killing me because I'm walking on pavement. I'm walking on asphalt. So I had to get my husband to send me my sneakers, which has helped tremendously. But of course, now my body has to get used to, just like you said, that new surface. And I hadn't even thought about it. So that's great. Yeah. So perfect. So Howie, what do you have to say?
I'm glad you asked. Well, some of the origin of our maladies are the chair. And if one did a little research, one would see that the chair was hardly ever a tool of function. It was a tool of luxury and fashion. People used to sit on a bench, maybe if they had that luxury, but it was really more of a royalty. And then over the last hundreds of years, it's all about design. So maybe ergonomics is a trendy thing, but what does it mean to be ergonomic is still, in my humble opinion, rather vague, because you could have an ergonomic chair and maybe an ergonomic desk, but we're still humans and not used to thinking about it. So this tool has gotten really lazy in thinking about, well, what is upright? And we were not designed to even sit. So if you take our basic design and you put us in something that's irregular and crunch us over and strain our bodies, it's a train wreck. And that's how I got into this yoga focus, was because I became disabled as a dentist from all the twisting and turning and repetitive motion, and even sports were repetitive. So flash forward now, the surface, uh, do people even use their feet accurately anymore when they're sitting on the chair? I know I used to do a whole dance with my feet as a professional to try and pivot around. And even now, as a homebound based person for the last dozen years, I still find I'm sitting at a table that's the kitchen table, but it's not an ideal, and I'm always compensating. But I've become disabled and I'm highly motivated to not get more disabled. Everyone else
Well,
is,
let me ask you a question before you go on, first of all, so we can give you a little more background. So first of all, prior to your dental practice, did you have pain? Did it come about through the practice?
well, it's all cumulative. I also had sports traumas that added to that. But definitely, if one's twisting and torquing, uh, and I would say repetitive motion, like Flo was saying, I was training for a triathlon in my upper 30s, and I was doing a lot of neck craning and bicycle riding. And so therefore there was so many other things that added. So thinking that we're doing something helpful in a misguided way
Mm.
is
Mhm.
is like just going in a
Right.
circle and creating disease, is the best way to describe
Yeah,
it.
yeah, because this is a very important conversation because, a lot of people have turned who can not go to the health club, like myself, not taking my yoga classes. We're turning on, let's say, some of the apps that are now offering, a class on demand that people never took before. So all of these things are really important to talk about and pay attention to, because how is it going to be when we're done? We could be really smart with where we are right now in taking care of who we are, so that when we are ready and get back out in the world, we won't get back in the world hurting. We'll get back into the world even better than we were before. So
Yes,
this
and
is
it's
great. I'm
more
glad the
than
two of
just
you are here.
Yeah. I'd like to comment on that if I could. I would have to say that I actually get
Yeah.
really excited when I go out. I walk on a regular basis, and I even do a little bit of what I call slogging, slow jogging. Um, and I've seen people out, and I think, I've never seen them on the trail before. Oh, I've never seen that. And you see whole families walking and riding, and it's awesome. But I do worry about, as a physical therapist, I worry about them becoming sore and painful, and either creating a problem that becomes even more of a problem when we go back to, I hate the word the new normal. Hopefully, it is their new routine. I worry that they're going to abandon this newly found activity, because it's wonderful that they're actually doing it. So, if I could for a minute, I'd like to talk about what is okay pain. I call it, what is okay pain, what is not okay pain,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, that's good, because I don't know if that's a very good point. I don't know if it's right or
yeah,
wrong then.
yeah. And a
Yeah.
lot of people have a trouble with discerning between pain and soreness as well. But a few guidelines I would give on that is, to me, if you go out, like I said, and you went walking and you hadn't been doing that, and both of your calves are sore, or both of your quads, for example, if both of them are sore, that's probably an okay pain. That's probably soreness versus pain of doing something that you haven't done, especially if, like you said, you either don't shoes, or you didn't stretch, or you're doing hills and you're not used to doing that, or even doing things like people don't realize if they live near a beach, oh, I'll go out on the sand, that can't hurt me. But walking in the deep sand or even sand that's soft can create a lot of soreness because it's such a different surface and it requires different muscles to be used in a different way. But again, soreness, if it's bilateral, so again, both calves, both quads, both hamstrings, it's a pretty good idea that it's probably soreness. And if you do some stretching and if it goes away in the next 2 to 3 days, it's probably okay. Also, if you're a little sore when you start the second day and it goes away as you exercise more, if it's bilateral, it's probably okay pain. When it is not okay pain is if it gets worse the more you exercise, or again, if it's one calf or one quad or one hamstring or even one foot, that old plantar fascia, a lot of people are familiar with that. So what that says, that doesn't necessarily mean stop. It means, okay, something needs some attention and let's figure it out. What is the root cause of this problem? And a lot of times the root cause is an old injury that has never been addressed correctly because you have an asymmetry or a tightness somewhere. And maybe it's just more of an indication of something that needs to be addressed. And people who have started these exercises or exercise routines and now they're experiencing unilateral pain, one calf, one hamstring, one ankle, whatever, one Achilles, I would encourage them to seek the right attention to take care of that, because not only is it going to keep you from being able to exercise and move the way you need to, it's going to affect all aspects of your life because you're going to start compensating. And then the next thing you know, something else is going to be hurting. And one thing leads to another, to another, to another. So really would encourage people to pay attention to their bodies, but don't just shut down. Don't just stop. Just, address what's going on.
Right. Thank you. Howie?
Thank you. And it's an interesting thing, Marilyn, you mentioned about getting new shoes and not the kind of shoes you might usually get. So for any of this, whether you're seated or moving, I'd invite people to just consider, well, where are my feet? And look at one's shoes and see how you've worn your shoes out, because padding can change and the sole can wear out irregularly. And the patterns that you bring in can only get amplified the more that they go. Also, as we sit on the chair, you could think of, well, how am I sitting? And I say on the chair versus in the chair. And there's techniques for that, because my contention is how you sit will reflect in some way how you walk. And if you're extended up when you're sitting, then you might be extending when you're walking. If you're slouching, and who isn't, and therefore you're putting all these different forces and your stride is off. So one could be active while seated in preparation for being fluid when striding. I'm usually rocking my hips while I'm seated, but for today I'm sitting on a creaky old chair and I don't want to make any noise in the background.
How is there a right way to sit and a wrong way, or it's just is there a right way or wrong way to sit in a chair?
Well, it's a very good question, and we try in the world to not say wrong. I
Okay.
like to use the word preferred.
Okay.
I'm not king of
Okay.
the forest. And
Okay.
even then, I would still be wrong. But I've had enough disability, and I'll share with the audience, I've been a patient of Flo's for decades, and she's been an advisor on my rehab, that we've come to some understanding about how optimal seating could be. And borrowing from yoga, I'll use the term mountain pose, which is a standing pose, or standing at attention is an equivalent of mountain pose, where the feet are grounded, the front of the body is lifted, the back of the body is stabilizing, and your head is level. Who's doing that right now, this minute, as they're listening, watching? So I'll pass the baton to Flo into constructing what we consider optimal.
Okay, thanks, Howie. I love that. I love the way you think about it because, first of all, I always like to say everything's connected. Everything is connected. The human body's connected. We're all connected, even more than we ever have been through this whole thing, I think. But looking at optimal, I love the word optimal. Like you said, it's not right or wrong, but it's optimal. And optimal can be a little bit different for each person, but we all want to be striving for the same principles, which is the way I think about it. If we're sitting in the chair correctly, similarly to how if we're standing correctly, then we're allowing every joint in the body to be in the best position it can be, such that we're not stressing it at its end range. We're finding that mid-range, hopefully where every joint is working together so that we're not creating irritation that's undue, or we're not asking muscles to work that shouldn't be, that become fatigued, that we're just aligning things in the best way possible. And if we are able to do that, it actually allows every single other body process to work the best it can, which is people don't think about. When you slump into a chair, for example, you cannot breathe deeply into your lungs. There is no way. So if that's not happening, then the brain's not getting the oxygen that it should. Therefore, you're not able to think as clearly. You're not able to be as efficient in whatever it is you're trying to do. So we think about that. We think about trying to achieve optimal, and we in the physical therapy world use the word neutral spine, because the spine does set us up for everything else. And I love the way Howie said, even when we're sitting, how the feet hit the ground sets us up as well. But you really can't think about one without the other. Like the feet should not, for example. So if you're sitting in a chair and you can't reach the ground, that's not a good situation. You should be putting something under your feet such that they allow your feet to have that interface. They allow your knees to be in the right position, which allows the pelvis to be in the right position, which allows the spine to be in the right position, which allows the head and the shoulders to be in the right position. So it's all connected. Well, and we'd be glad to show you. I think we have a picture of attempting.
Amnon, can you put up that picture? So just while we're doing that, just want to remind everyone, please feel free to call in with your personal things. Because I'm going to take advantage of this. So I hope you do too. So please call in at 919-518-9773 or join us on Skype at computers, and that's plural, then the number 2K voice, or you can join us in our chat. Just put your name, nickname, and ask your questions there. But if you have a question that you want to know about your personal body, how you're performing, this is important. This is an opportunity for you. Take advantage of it. Okay, Amnon, you got that picture? There we go. Okay.
Lovely.
Go ahead.
We can all play a little game called What's Right and What's Not So Right, because it's not wrong, but it's less than optimal with this picture. This is me trying to demonstrate a neutral spine, but also that there are things that are not ideal here. This may be a common scene where people are at a dining room because they're splitting up living space. So therefore, their dining room chairs may be atypical for what they're used to. I'm not a very tall man, 5'7" these days. So my legs are on the shorter side. And therefore, I can't scoot my butt all the way back into the seat. Therefore, I also have something behind me called the lumbar limbo roll. You may not find that term on the internet. I make up things, though someone else may have made that up before. But it helps me to maintain a neutral spine in my lumbar area. I'm trying to sit upright, but you could also see my head is forward of my shoulders and that my elbows are below my hands. But if I was standing upright, my hands would be below my elbows. So I call that a little bit of a T-Rex. Screen is not eye level, so therefore I have to tip my head down, which therefore I'm limited to how much is healthy for me or neutral at best. So those are some of the things that we can offer, that the feet are planted, the spine's a little lifted with the lumbar support. I'm sitting with my meditation space pillow behind me so that I could sit upright and project an upright image and breathe. But once the hands get into play, those are the corruptors. So I'll just pass the baton to Flo and see what else
Okay.
she'd like to
But
share.
before you go on with that, I just want to interject something. So let me understand something. Sitting up straight is the best choice. Now, you just taught me a huge lesson, because my mother's chairs are deep.
Mm.
And I'm thinking, what's wrong with me? There should be plenty of room for my butt and me, but I'm short. Now it makes perfect sense why those chairs are uncomfortable. Why I'm turning around, like what I'll end up doing is putting my arm on the back of the chair. So and whatever I'm doing, because I'm short and my body doesn't fit the depth of this chair. That was huge.
Oh, yes, I would say 99.8 chairs are not ideal for the average or unaverage person because they're mass produced or made for design. But it's not an issue until now. We are orthopedic nightmares or
Yeah.
fantasies. It could be either.
Yeah. No, that was great, because now I understand how my body is too short for these deep pillows.
Mhm.
All right, Flo, go.
So I'm going to talk about that picture, but you just you made me think of something that I had a flashback to when my husband and I went looking for a sofa, and he became a little bit agitated with me because I had to sit on every single one. And if they were too deep like that, I said, no, I'm not going to rely on a pillow, on the exact right pillow every single time. We spend time to be able to sit on my own sofa in my own home. As a physical therapist, I should have the ideal setup, and it shouldn't be too high so that I could put my feet down. So you're exactly right. And a lot of people don't think about that. They just think, oh, I love this fabric. Oh, I love, how it looks and things like that. So those are things to think about. But there are things you can do too. So in this picture, what I would do with Howie is, first of all, I would put a pillow in the chair for him to sit on, and if that made his feet not be able to touch the ground, I would find, if I didn't have anything, I would find some books or old magazines that he could put his feet on so that he could have that nice angle. Because when he's sitting up on, well, some people call them the sits bones, the ischial tuberosities. Technically, I just call them the butt bones. Then you should be able to sit up on those, and your feet have to be resting such that your knees are slightly lower than your pelvis. Because otherwise, if you roll your butt up underneath you, you're going to be in a C curve, and that's not good. So the other thing that I would do is to have a keyboard. Now, he might not have one lying around, but I bet he could order one from Amazon. They're less than $20. And if you had a keyboard that connected to your laptop, then sit the laptop up on a couple of old Encyclopedia Britannicas. Everybody has those laying around somewhere, right? Put them to some good use. And then the screen of the laptop can be at eye level. He is looking down, you're right. So there's no way he cannot look down unless we bring the screen up. We give him a keyboard, and then I love the lumbar roll. And then you have to make sure that he can bring his head back. He'll be able to bring his head back over his torso if he's able to look up at the screen. And that way too, if we bring that pillow under his butt and bring him up, then his forearms are going to be neutral with the keyboard. So we're not going to create carpal tunnel and other things because of his wrist being caught up. So that's what I would do with that.
It's very interesting, because I'm sitting here, I'm thinking, boy, the two of you need to make house calls. Because I mean, seriously, because a lot of, so many more people are working from home in general. You go to an office, sometimes, they've decorated the office ergonomically and everything works fine, but in some cases, but at home, it's not. And so it's interesting what you're saying, because we need these fixes, and we need these Band-Aids. Otherwise, we're not going to feel so good. So
Yeah.
this is great. Go ahead. What are you going to say?
I was just going to say a couple of other things that I tell patients, but now whenever they come in for back or neck or any kind of issue, really, but now it's even more important. Even sitting in that sofa and looking at your TV, if you're looking at TV a lot more, if the TV is not pretty much in front of you and you're always turning your head to the left because you love that one chair or that one end of the sofa, then you're going to create a rotation asymmetry that you haven't had before. And then you get up and you wonder, why do you feel like you need to rotate the other way? So if at all possible, place your furniture so that the TV is neutral for you so that you're not always turning the same way.
Mhm. Well, Howie, let me ask you something. And here's my New York's accent coming through. Let me ask you something. How much of this and all the things that Flo has taught you in the physical therapy and the yoga, how has that made a difference in your level of your quality of life, considering the fact of being disabled and the pain and all of that? How has this made a difference by listening to this?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, a lot of it is cumulative and a lot of it is an explore. And for me, it's essential for the quality of my life. My body has gone through traumas and compensations and repairs, and just the idea of, quote, sitting with something mentally and emotionally is a big deal. And how we sit with things is a big deal. And from my even practice with physical therapy and yoga, I can do the physical therapy, but being with whatever I'm negotiating with is another process. That's the mind process. And it's taken a lot of time working with the physical to then now get the mind involved. And how does that get involved? It's with breathing practices. Now, as a sports guy, I've been able to optimize fuel with breathing, but now breathing with yoga and therapy and combining them together has enhanced my capacity to manage what I'm dealing with. If I'm breathing well, then I can move into whatever my therapeutic modes are. That said, going to fast forward in the last year and a half, where I've had another major surgery and challenges from it, while trying to keep on, uh, a the couch that I got for myself based on my body size is one of my best friends because I can be in this space and be comfortable. So people, you're worth it. If you can afford it, you're worth it, and then be creative and view our websites to learn more. But also in the process of having to sit with more disability with rheumatoid arthritis now, I'm just trying to figure out what is neutral for me because my body just doesn't feel right anymore. I don't even know what neutral is. And I imagine people metaphorically and literally, they don't even know what's up and what's neutral. So I have what I call what do I call that? I have a postural meditation in the morning. And that comes from people trying to do healing work for me, where I would just sit and they would try to provide remote healing. And so I would just sit and do my transcendental meditation at that time. And I would just try to be open to whatever is coming my way, literally, physically, feeling my body adjust, breathing to my dysfunctions. And ultimately, that was November. Thank you, Sonia. That I've now been meditating every day but one since then, just sitting and being with myself. What is neutral? What does it feel like to be relaxed? What does it dedicate to? Where am I and how I might feel in this disoriented time? And that's how I start my early day now. And sometimes I feel great, and sometimes I'm still irritable physiologically.
Okay, so let's just back up for a second. So I understand the physical therapy. I understand all of this, but I want other people to understand this as well. So the breathing helps you do what when you say mental, what specifically is that doing for
It
you
gives,
and your
it
pain?
gives, it gives me something I can negotiate. Breathing is one of the few elements out there that we can actually actively manipulate, and which does have an effect on our body chemistry. And at a
Mhm.
time where I'm taking these medicines that affect my physiology, the breathing is my antidote, though it's not automatic, to trying to deal with the swelling in my body as I try to move my hands. Uh, that's the movement. I don't have to be frenetic. I'm just trying to close my fist. I'm trying to sit up straight and feel the engagement and the breath move in my body. So
And the
that
breath
one,
and the breath will help you ease get to an ease where you can move your hands.
yes, I actually
Okay,
have to.
people need to
I-
hear this specifically because a lot of people talk about breath, but they need to hear it from somebody like you.
Yeah, I wake up in the morning. I can't close my hand, and my breath is one breath, one movement. While I'm sitting there trying to just accept that it's not. This is, I didn't wake up an hour ago. But I still can't close my hand.
Well, I don't know if Flo knows this, and I don't know if you remember, but I had juvenile arthritis as a child. And if it wasn't, I don't know if I ever told you this, but maybe I did years ago, but starting when I was 10 months old, and then again, I had a big major flare up when I was 7 years old, and then throughout my life. And that's what I have in my eyes, actually. I have iritis. So I am always living with some sort of inflammation. And if it wasn't for, the things that I do, and I'm 66 years old and I can do a lot, I don't know where I would be. I am very grateful for the kinds of things that you both are talking about because I listen to these things because this is what is making a difference and has got me to 66 to be able to bend, move, not feel that inflammation on a regular basis and to be able to see. I mean, iritis for Pete's sake is a swelling in your eye. It's an inflammation. So this is very important and you don't have to be in pain to just to experience more or greater feelings in your body. So I really appreciate all of this. So thank you, Howie, for being honest with how it is.
Oh yeah, it's been really rough. All this closures has caused the flow of my sense of purpose. Uh, Having created this nonprofit to extend the benefits that I've been experiences with my limits, and having all that shut down and the relationships we built over 10 years, just all in a retracted mode. Everyone's tight. And whether I think I'm looser than I am, I'm pretty tight,
Right, right, right.
uh, and disconnected with family, and we're all disconnected from many things.
And that tightened, let me just say, to everyone, you don't have to have experienced, arthritis or anything else under the sun, but to experience that tightness, which we all have, where whether it's from, being alone, it's the stress of going to the grocery store, it's, not seeing family. I cry every time I see my grandsons on FaceTime. I mean, all of these things, you can be in the best shape, your body is going to feel something just like we opened up with. You're sitting at different chairs. So this is important. And I know you have, there's some things I want to make sure we talk about. But before we do, I know, Howie, you have an event coming up, which has kind of taken on a different look, as many of them have. So do you want to talk about that for a minute?
I'd love to. Amnon, can you put up the graphic? Boing! Excellent. Well, though we've been doing videos and having YouTube channels and online education on our website, taking all these relationships and now producing what's called Yoga Zoom Fest, because it'll be over Zoom, we're expanding what we used to do as a live event called Yoga Fest NC and making this a free concert, pun intended, that we're utilizing the relationships, and we have 2 days of free online yoga, 16 hours, 8 a.m. to midnight Eastern, so our West Coasters and around the worlders can participate. And everyone is volunteering. We put a team together to capitalize on how everyone or many of folks are learning now. So it's a beautiful experience. We're sponsored by our donors and sponsors that have been supporting our programs, and Flo's business is one of them. That we're looking to be relevant and to keep community together. So this is new for us, and we have some team, but we'd like everyone to consider that this is a first and to come join us. We'll probably have 500 spots per class. That's because that's our budget for Zoom right now. We're not up to unlimited, but in trying to keep it humble, we hope to accrue 500 students per session, and that's 24 sessions over 2 days.
So it'll be all kinds of yoga,
Yes,
right? Chair yoga, Ashtanga, whatever, everything, right?
whatever.
Oh my.
Yes, we'll have chair, we'll have meditation, we'll have chanting, we'll have gentle, we'll have active, and some other unique blends because everyone has their styles and arts, and we'll have descriptors on the You Call This Yoga website events page.
And that's where people can sign up if they're interested.
Yes, it'll be an online Zoom registration. It's not open yet. We've only patched this together, but give us 2 days
Okay.
and just come to our Facebook page for You Call This Yoga, where there's also something called Yoga Feast, which is free and fee online yoga classes from a lot of our partners, and we keep serving that up on Facebook. So come to Facebook and join us there.
Perfect. Okay. Because I'm going to have, I'm going to have to do that because I love me some yoga. So, Flo, I want to come back to you now. So you talked about raising, getting like a separate a keyboard, and you talked about things like that. I think it would be really great to talk about some key things people can do, specific things they can take away now that they can do with all the things you spoke about, which you spoke about things that I hadn't even thought about, like gardening. Like, yeah, that's true. Everybody's going to have the biggest vegetable garden in the world because everybody's out there, right? People are painting 1 bathroom, they're painting 2 and 3 bathrooms. So people are doing a lot of things. So what other kinds of tips can you give us that are like aha moments, but like we need to have them?
Well, I was thinking as Howie was talking, he's such an inspiration and sharing all of that information. But, I think too many times people, when you talk about movement and you say the word exercise, to a lot of people, it's a dirty word, and it doesn't have to be. I would love for people to take away from this the whole concept that movement is relative. Movement is relative. And Howie talked about breathing and the ability to breathe deeply and to not only physiologically fill your lungs, but to cleanse your soul in that way is something that I think all of us could certainly benefit from every single day, not just now, but going forward. So, recognizing and appreciating that movement is relative and such a necessary part of our health. I just want to take a minute to talk about the fact that movement, the ability to move optimally for you. I don't mean optimally compared to, as Howie mentioned, a triathlete, optimally for you to move and to feel unrestricted in that movement affects every single body system in a favorable way, and ways that people they may realize now a little bit more about what it contributes to stress relief, but maybe they haven't thought about the fact that it contributes in a favorable way to digestive regularity, certainly to cardiopulmonary performance, but also tissue healing and everyday maintenance of all of our body parts, our skin, our bones, our muscles, our nerves, hormonal balance and regulation, urinary tract health and regulation, optimal mental clarity, and our ability to maintain patience and tolerance, I read on Facebook about all these parents that are doing this homeschooling. I am very thankful that my kids are not in that stage of life, because I know my patience would not be where it needs to be for that. But, just tolerance too. And certainly for balance and falls prevention, not just for people of certain ages. Balance and falls prevention becomes an issue. A lot of people would go as low as 50 for that. And so movement is relative. Even being able to sleep better, right? Having optimal sleep patterns. And especially important right now, increased immunity to disease and illness. The ability to move optimally, which is relative for each of us. So I would encourage everyone to take a look at themselves individually, and maybe recommit almost to taking a look at how they can seek what is good for them in their own situation. Not that you have to go say, I'm going to run a 5K, or I'm going to, like we said, I'm not going to bench press my body weight or whatever. Who cares? But move more than you have before, even a little bit more in a safe way, and look at all the things you can do, even in your home, that make it a better situation for you. And we're all going to benefit from this. If everybody would just do that one little thing, how much healthier in so many ways, physically, mentally, spiritually, all of us could be. And ironically, thank this pandemic for it. Oh my goodness, wouldn't that be awesome? We've already talked about the workstation thing, but even things like, I know a lot of people are probably going through their closets and throwing out clothes and that kind of thing, or cleaning nooks and crannies, or like I said, with the yard work. A couple of things with that. Don't always rake the same way. You put the rake in the other hand. It feels awkward, but guess what? It's good for you, and it challenges your body in lots of different ways. Vacuuming, dance with the vacuum cleaner. That's one way of not hurting your back while you're vacuuming. And again, if you're washing all those windows, use that non-dominant hand, so that dominant hand the shoulder doesn't get irritated when you're reaching high. All kinds of things like that. Balance, balance, balance. Looking at offsetting yourself from things that you do the same way all the time.
It's interesting. You just reminded me of something. So I had arm surgery on whatever nerve you have, several years. Yeah, several years ago, and it like would vibrate when I would walk fast. Right, we'll go down the step. I would have to hold it. It would
Yeah.
kind of vibrate. What's so interesting? It right now. I ran. Did what you call it? Running, walking. What you call it? Schwalk.
I call it slogging because it's
Slogging.
no jogging.
So I did that
for
this
me.
morning, and it didn't vibrate.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering what it is. What am I not doing that I did that continued that feeling of vibration? Because it's been doing it for years. That I'm not doing now. So it's so true.
Yes.
What you just said, and I'm like the poster child of what you're both saying. But it's true. It's not doing it, and I thought about it this morning.
And
And
that's what I'm saying. I think now, just taking the time to think things through like that is beneficial, I think. Instead of just going through the motions, we're all in a big hurry. We got to get here. We got to get there. We got to do this. We got to do that. And now we have a little more time to analyze it, maybe a little bit, and maybe just ask why. Why do I always do it that way? Maybe I have to try something different,
yeah, absolutely. This is great. Yeah, Howie, what were you going to say?
Well, getting back to very specifics, because there was some good broad answers there and some specifics. I would have your listeners consider sitting on a horse. That doesn't mean you're going to go do it, but picture yourself sitting on a horse, extending through the stirrups. You're pushing your tailbone into the saddle. You're bringing your belly up and forward. Your elbows are by your side. So I would invite folks to just check themselves out and where am I in space? And then where is my shoulders? How collapsed am I? And then just for fun, I like to think of the elbows as whiskers. Whiskers. Now, cats have whiskers, and they're for depth perception. And if one kept their elbows in by their sides, then they would have the opportunity to sit up. Once your elbows go out and you've lost connection with your side, one is tending to collapse. Therefore, when I'm doing what I attempt to do, whether it's gardening or even now playing frisbee disc golf almost every day, so I could walk in the woods. I won't tell you where in North Raleigh because it's the best secret, Cedar Hills. And you can see our YouTube video on the Zen of disc golf. But it's about being out in nature and breathing, get my body engaged, getting my elbows in, attempting to make a throw because I'm mediocre and middle-aged. And where it goes can be beautiful or horrific, and that's the metaphor of life. You pick it up, you steady, and you throw it again, and you thrill or you laugh and you forget about it and move on.
Right.
But it's about coming back to the posture, looking up at the beautiful spring, getting out of the house and being somewhere different, walking on an irregular surface. I do have my hiking shoes, avoiding the roots, metaphorically and literally, and just taking it in and taking these breaths in that I wouldn't take in the house.
So let me ask you,
feel the wind.
so how big of a difference has this made to your your pain level, your pain management, your quality of life? How has all of this made a difference for you?
It's immeasurable. It's
immeasurable.
even because when the bad stuff happens, what's in our toolbox? And it's tragic for the world that this pandemic happened, but for some of us with other chronic issues, we've had a internal pandemic that just doesn't stop. So the tools of challenges over the years is fueling, but I've had to really ratchet it up and accepting that I feel crappy and that I have to keep moving for my mental health. It's essential to get out of the house and maintain my relationships, not so much out when I'm out, but to be healthy to maintain them because I feel really locked in. Uh, and just being out in nature is therapeutic more than ever. Helps
Mhm.
heal my other arthritic issues too, which have been a
Right.
benefit.
Right. No, I've had such pain in my body where I could barely walk. And I'll walk into a pool, just walk in a pool, just a little resistance of a pool. A few minutes in the pool, I'll get out and I'm like, what just happened? Like, what was that about? How fabulous could it be that I could be in such pain that I could barely get to the pool? I get in the pool and there's that subtle little bit of resistance, just walking, not doing crazy things because I can do crazy things, but not doing anything crazy. And I come out and I'm like, oh my God, I'm like a new woman. So these things are so important for us all. But before we go on with the conversation, Amnon, you have my books. I think Amnon's listening a lot. This is perfect. Amnon loves this kind of conversation, don't you, Amnon?
I always do.
I know you always do. Okay, here are my books. 3 are on Amazon. In just one afternoon, listening to the hearts of first men, then twins and millennials, and very soon people impacted by opioid addiction, and then followed by Black fathers, which I recently was able to interview a young 16 or 16-year-old good Black daddy. And so now that book will be able to be ready soon. So I'm really excited about it. And just so you know, next week my guest is a professor from Duke, and the topic is listening into the hearts of Rumi's poetry, and he is an expert. So next week should be kind of fun too. So let me go back to Howie. All right. And so in the few minutes that we have left, Howie, what do you want to share?
Ah,
There's a world of information, I know.
Mm.
But in summing up, what would you like people to know?
I would like to know that it's a real challenge to feel settled, that there are tools that our organization has on the You Call This Yoga website, YouTube page, Yoga Feast, Yoga Zoom Fest, as a way to engage community, because I believe that we're all suffering from disconnect, touch, positive touch, therapeutic touch. I know I missed my physical therapy. I had to stop because I wasn't progressing, but it's so precious to feel that other people are engaged with me. And the movement can be mental movement, physical movement, emotional movement, to consider that there's little shifts we can make, whether it's just putting your fingers together and breathing. That's called mudras in yoga. And there's just different energy that we can activate to stay in moving in the more optimal position than where we are.
Right. There's always something we can do, right?
Yes,
And
it may not be immediately, and we may not be able to move that moment, but to at least think towards it.
my mother is 94. She's going to be 95 in June. And right before all this broke out, we went to and we bought her these pedals that are like bicycle pedals. And every day for 5 minutes, like twice a day, she's doing it. I mean, she does not let anything go by without her doing it. I mean, she's amazing, and we walk on the catwalk now that she feels safer going out with her mask a little bit. So, yeah, I mean, and she's 94. And if it wasn't for doing all those things, she's in great shape. I mean, she would not be, I mean, God only knows. So,
Mhm.
very important. So, and what about you, Flo? What in your final words of advice or encouragement or what?
Keep moving. I think that's what I would say. And I would also encourage people to not feel that they have to be in pain to seek the services of a physical therapist. That I've been talking about for years, and actually have talked to insurance companies about the importance of a movement wellness exam once a year. Because sometimes, a lot of times, by the time you have pain, then you've had an asymmetry or a weakness or an imbalance that could have been addressed a long time before it became painful. And you've compensated in so many different ways and you don't realize it. So, paying attention to even little things about it when you are doing exercises and you always prefer to stand on one leg versus the other. If somebody said, stand on one leg and balance, or that one leg it's easier to balance on. There's a reason for that. It's not because it's your dominant side. Or keeping the ability to move, or if you don't know what you should be able to do, then seek the services of an expert, of a physical therapist, to do a movement exam. And movement is relative, and I think that it's okay that you don't want to run a marathon. I think I would encourage people to look at their sofas and see, if their feet touch the ground or if it fits them or where their TV is located in the living room. There's so many little things that we can do that will help us not only physically but mentally and spiritually as well.
Right.
So that would be what I would want to leave people. Just encourage people to appreciate the power of movement.
Mhm.
And to not give up on themselves regarding that.
Yeah, let me just add just to that point that you don't have to wait to be in pain to go to physical therapy, which I think is very important. And I think, most people are experiencing, if you're athletic and moving at all, you are experiencing something, or your body is being used in some way that it can be used better. And if you're not experiencing any pain, and you're not moving, you probably should too. And I'm going to tell you, as soon as I come back, I'm making an appointment.
Good. Come on
I mean,
down.
I am because I don't think you need to be like crippled to enjoy. I want my body to go longer and to go
Absolutely.
better. So I'm going to be doing that. So I really thank you both so very much for being here today. And I think this is something that we should do again. I think it's
Yes.
a really important conversation. And Howie, I think, I want to thank you for helping to create this show because you did. So I thank you so much for it.
It's a pleasure, Marilyn. Thank you for
Yes.
your trust and creative side too.
Yes.
Pleasure. Thank you both very much. And Amnan, thank you. I love you, Amnan.
I'm not. I miss the hummus.
Everyone out there, I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. Get moving, do whatever. Just one more second. A couple of weeks ago, and I couldn't go outside because I guess the weather, I turned on a Netflix thing and I just danced around the apartment.
Yes.
So, I mean, we just try to make the most of every moment.
Oh,
That
yeah.
was important, right?
Absolutely.
So everyone out there, we love you dearly. Thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you next week with Rumi. Bye.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by Telestream's Wirecast software, StreamingGear.com, Carolina Apparel, and DeltaForce.net.